Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the 2023 Chicago Bulls offseason. And then we're also going to talk, first of all, we're going to talk about the shocking Bradley Beal trade that went down yesterday between the Washington Wizards and the Phoenix Suns. So please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Our resident Phoenix Suns fan, Matthew James, should be joining us here shortly to talk about this trade. I'm David Huffman. Right there is the co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins. Happy Monday, TJ. How was the weekend, my friend?
Still on it.
Oh, man, lucky man. I wish I was still on my weekend. I had to go back to work for 10 hours today. It was a good time, man. Good stuff. But we're going to talk about the Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk about Bradley Beal. Let's not waste any time and get right into the first part of the show. Headed to the desert. Bradley Beal traded to the Suns. The package returned Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, multiple second-round picks. I think the number is 4, and it also includes 2 pick swaps. Those years are. I don't know what the years are on those pick swaps. But Bradley Beal is waiving his no-trade clause to facilitate this trade. Bradley Beal is currently on his historic Supermax contract worth 5 years, $251 million. The Suns will now pay a total of more than $160 million for 4 players next season. Just a reminder, that's already over the cap. So they're going to have Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, and now Bradley Beal, all making over $160 million for 4 players. So let's just talk about the Suns side of this, and then we'll get to the Wizards. On the Suns side of this, what do you think about this for the Suns?
Obviously, that's what happens when you get new ownership, right? They want to chip.
Yeah.
They want to chip like immediately. They want to chip right away, right? And they want it as soon as possible, as quick as possible, by any means necessary, right? We saw this when Prokhorov bought the Nets. What did he do? Trades for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. Now, that came back to bite him in the ass in the long run. But, yeah, Matt Ishbia is hoping that a trio of Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker gets him a championship fairly soon because they have no depth. They have
so the only way, because of the new CBA, the only way they're going to fill out this roster now is our minimum contract guys. So veterans that have been around the league that will want to join a team and potentially win a championship. Obviously, unless they trade DeAndre Ayton, get some pieces that foisters their depth that way. My honest opinion is this is a no-brainer for the Suns. Sure, you're giving up your future, but who cares? This is about now. Kevin Durant's not going to play that much longer. He's got 4 years left in his deal. He's almost 35 years old. He's coming off calf and Achilles injuries. They dealt with nagging injuries throughout his career. I roll the dice. I mean, you're not giving up anything. You give up this. You basically got him for nothing. Roll the dice. What do you got to lose?
Actually, a lot, because if you don't win the championship,
sure,
and it really is for nothing.
I mean, sure, but yeah, sure, you're going to be paying a lot of money in the luxury tax, but I've had the Phoenix Suns. I do this all day, twice on Sunday, which is when they did the trade. I think it's a no-brainer decision. It's who cares about the future? This is about now. We'll figure it out. Because a lot of people said about the Houston Rockets. Like the Houston Rockets were able to salvage their future. I mean, if things go really south, all they got to do is trade Devin Booker, and they were covering all the draft capital they traded away for Kevin Durant and for Bradley Beal. If things go south.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy, but we already know it's not. So
this is a slam dunk for the Phoenix Suns.
No, it's not. It better be. It better be.
It better be a slam dunk. But I think there is very, very little risk to make this trade. Very little.
There is a lot of risk. What are you talking about?
No, it's not. What are you talking about?
Kevin Durant don't have Kevin Durant don't have injury problems.
He does have injury problems.
Bradley Beal don't have injury problems.
He does. I mean, Bradley Beal's been a fairly outside of
Bradley Beal don't have injury problems. Has he not been shut down twice? Like the last 2 seasons.
I think that's more about.
I think that's more about him being shut down. Forget your rationale. Forget your rationale. No. Forget your rationale. He got shut down. Point blank. Period. terrible or not, he got shut down.
I love this trade for the Phoenix Suns. I like that. I think this is what if you're going to be aggressive, go for it. They're not worried about like the tax apron or what happened 3 years from now with like when you like when the penalties get really bad. They're not
and they
worried
better
about
be.
it. Like, they'll find guys that willing to come and play on this team and fill out the rest of the roster. They could still trade. They could still trade DeAndre Ayton and get some valuable pieces like TJ McConnell and Miles Turner. They could still do that. I mean, Miles.
No, they can't.
No, they can't. Yes, they can.
No, they can't. Dude, did you what DeAndre Ayton did you watch this past playoffs?
I still
his value could not be any lower.
I still think you can get Miles Turner if you wanted to.
No, you can't.
And TJ
Jesus
McConnell.
Christ, no, you can't. No, like I'm not finna trade for some dude that you have to poke and prod and push to play. I'm not giving up anything valuable to get that. Like no.
But I think a team will.
And no, and just like how teams didn't want to help the Brooklyn Nets when they had Kyrie, Harden, and KD, I'm not finna help Phoenix for what?
I mean, but they got 2 first-round picks out of that trade. I mean, they basically got all of their draft capital back.
No, they didn't.
They did. They got 4 first-round picks with Kevin Durant.
Oh, Brooklyn.
They got 2.
Oh yeah, like I'm talking about like at first, like when they first got together.
Sure, but I think if this doesn't work out for the Phoenix Suns, you just trade Devin Booker and you get
they're not. Come on, bro. Stop it. Why are you talking about they're not trading Devin Booker? Devin Booker is going to be a Phoenix Sun till the day he retires.
I don't know about that. I think if this doesn't work out and they're like, okay, how can we recover what we've lost to put this together? Trading Devin Booker would be the answer. They could do that.
No, they're not. But they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. I don't see Devin Booker playing anywhere else anytime in his career. Like it's not going to happen. So
I will see, but I mean, they're going to be out future draft capital. The pick swaps, most of those pick swaps won't mean a whole lot. They've given up 4 first-round picks for Kevin Durant, but they will still have picks in every other season. Like they will still have an opportunity to draft players. Like this isn't like the NFL where you have no picks forever. Like it's just every other season they will still have a pick. I like this trade for the Phoenix Suns. Do I think that this is a basketball fit, a great basketball fit? Not really. What did the Phoenix Suns need?
What's the point of the trade?
What did the Phoenix Suns need? They needed because you were never going to get this deal again. I mean,
no, but if it's not a great basketball fit,
he's more valuable than this. But
if it's not a great basketball fit, why make the trade?
I mean, because there was no other trade like this on the table that they could have made that would.
You could have got Dame for this, like maybe not, but I don't know.
No way.
But here's the thing. If it's not a good fit at this point, Matt Ishbia is showing his noviceness because the one thing the NBA tells you don't trade for names. This is what this seems like. Yeah, you just traded for a big name because now we're asking, all right, how's this gonna fit? Who's gonna run point? And like that's literally where you're at right now.
But I also want this nonsense where people think that Chris Paul is gonna get bought out and then return to the Suns on the veteran minimum. That's never happening. That's never gonna happen.
So Devin Booker's probably gonna have to play point.
I mean, they still have Cameron Payne on the roster. I mean,
you are not starting Cameron Payne, bro.
I mean, what else are you gonna do?
Run Devin Booker at point. I just said it.
He's not a natural point guard, dude. I don't think that's a good fit. They'll have to figure something out.
Neither is Cameron Payne if we want to be 100%.
You're not wrong. But he does play the point guard positions.
So you start Devin Booker. You gonna probably run Bill at the 2. Put Okogie or somebody like that at the 3 because you need defense. Somebody got to play some damn defense. KD and 8.
Kevin Durant is an underrated defender, but
he is.
Yeah, but Bradley Beal, he's not a defender. He's not a rim protector, which is what this team really needed. But let's not pretend like the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs last season. They won the most games against the Nuggets than any other team in the NBA, and they did that
and they got them what?
Yeah, I know, but they did that without Chris Paul. I mean, this is
And
a Phoenix Suns team without Chris Paul and putting Bradley Beal on it. That's an upgrade. And this is a trade package that we're never going to have an opportunity to get again. Like you have to make this trade.
and they got him what? They didn't have to do anything, but okay.
They had to make this trade. This never was going to be on the table again. You roll the dice. You figure it out. You let everything else figure it out later. But they will find veteran. They will find veteran players. They will play on the minimum and will be on this team to try to win a chip. You look at those Cavaliers teams. Always found guys that were willing to play on the minimum. Those Warrior teams always found guys that were willing to play. On
Yeah,
the minimum.
but that's because wait one that was an Eastern Conference that you were guaranteed to just waltz through and get to the finals.
And a Western Conference at that time as well. I mean, the Warriors just cooked through. But
And yeah, so
every year, like they will find players that are willing to play on this team for the veteran minimum. They will find.
This doesn't guarantee a trip to the finals. Like I don't know if you know,
it gives them a better opportunity than.
But
yesterday.
teams are teams are better now compared to literally compared to the when the Warriors had KD. Their teams are way better now.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
like
there were some good teams then too, but yeah, I think there is a lot of parity in the NBA right now,
so
and there are a little good basketball teams.
They're gonna
they'll
have
find
to
a way.
work,
They'll find a way to fill
about.
this roster. They will probably trade DeAndre Ayton. I think that's still something that's on the table here. They will find a move for DeAndre Ayton.
I wouldn't want to be Frank Vogel right now. Because
I mean, obviously the pressure now on Frank Vogel is more. Yes,
it was already high.
True. But now the pressure on him now is more today than it was yesterday, and that I don't think that's even remotely close. But I like the trade. I'm going to give the Suns a grade. I give them a B+ on it. I think it's based on what they gave up to get him. I think this is a pretty solid return. On the other side of this, I don't like. This is probably the worst. I was talking to somebody at work today. This is the worst return on a superstar I can ever. Period. Like Bradley Beal is a 3-time All-Star. He's an All-NBA player. Like he was the leading scorer in the league 2 years ago. This is a absolute travesty of a fumbled situation. The Washington Wizards played themselves into a terrible scenario, and this is the package that they get. It's borderline embarrassing.
Again, that's why bad teams stay bad. The
Wizards should have never given him this supermax contract. They never should. He shouldn't have been on this team 3 years ago. Like they should have been trading him away. Like when they traded away John Wall, they basically dealt themselves. Like they literally got nothing of value for him. Nothing.
And yeah, the fact that you said Chris Paul makes the Warriors, the Wizards a playoff team, I'm like, no, the hell he don't.
I was kidding, man. Come on.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't.
But he goes places, and when he went to the Thunder, remember nobody thought the Thunder.
Okay, the Sun and the Thunder actually have players that the Thunder actually have players that can play. Like SGA literally blossomed in front of our eyes playing next to Chris Paul. I don't think anybody on the Wizards is gonna do that.
I don't think so either.
Like,
Kyle Kuzma's a free agent. They're probably not bringing back either Kyle Kuzma or Kristaps Porzingis. Like this is one of those scenarios where it's just an embarrassing. If you're a Wizards fan, I'm sorry. Like this is and I completely like those people that want to talk about like, oh, they didn't have a choice. Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did.
You don't have to trade him away. Like if he may want to go to Phoenix, and he would be like, "Oh, I'm not waiving my no trade clause." Like keep him, keep him on the team. Don't trade him away. You want to not waive your trade clause. You want to sit here on your Wizards team and rot. Yeah, go for it. We're not trading you away for 4 first-round picks and some pick swaps and
this is almost like the Wizards saying, you know what, hey man, we'll do you a favor.
Yeah, I know his agent is also like the partial owner of the Suns or in the GM.
Like he's the son. He's the son of one of those guys.
Yeah,
which you can also argue is like, I don't know, like damn near borderline tampering, but we already see how that goes. Like the NBA,
I think because of the no trade clause with Bradley Beal, I almost think that because of that, it's not technically tampering. I don't even know how to express like how bad of a return this is. Like you did not have to trade Bradley Beal. Like he may want to go somewhere else, but if you this is what I talked about Izzy the other day. We were talking about the Miami Heat, and like he could like be like you could look at the trade package and be like, okay, well, if I get traded there and look at the package that is being traded for me, I'm going to be going back to a team that doesn't have much else around me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to do that. I'm going to veto that trade, even though that's somewhere where I want to play. Which is just they never should have given him the no trade clause. They never should have given him the historic Supermax contract. He never should have had these things. He should have been on the move 3 years ago, and the Washington Wizards should be picking in like deep in the lottery the last 2 years and building a real team. Otherwise, what do they have now? They literally have nothing of value. They get nothing of value for the best, arguably the best player in their franchise. It's one of the most.
I ain't gonna disrespect. I ain't gonna disrespect Gilbert Arenas like that. I'm not.
That's
I think
all right. He's for sure in the top 10.
that. Yeah. He top 10. He top 10. But I'm not gonna disrespect Gilbert Arenas like that.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm also not going to disrespect John Wall like that either. But
I'm disrespecting John Wall like that. John Wall.
He's like third all time in games played. I mean, he's like one of the most 3-pointers made. He's like second in scoring all time, like for this franchise. This is. I'm embarrassed. I'm not even a Wizards fan. I'm embarrassed.
Hey,
and what do they do now? What do they do now? They have what do they do now?
Well, unfortunate for them, there's no Victor Wembanyama in the 2024 NBA draft, right? Yeah. Otherwise, we'd be hearing about it now. You gotta, but to their credit, if you're gonna rebuild, fully commit to it. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like do something. Like you can either. I say it all the time. NBA, like purgatory in any team sport, is the absolute worst place you want to be, Jerry Weinsdorf. You like the false hope that you give your fans is borderline. Like, it's not borderline. Like, it's just absolutely cruel, because you have moments where you look like the best fucking team in the league, and then you have other moments where you just look like god awful, and it's like. And then you have then your fan bases spend the whole season arguing, like, you see what we did against this team. This is why we should. Yep. Da, 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 da. And then the other half is, you see how we just played against this team. Like, this is why we should blow this thing up, or XYZ. So if you're Washington, let's be honest, the last few lottery picks that you did have, you haven't hit on. The last good lottery pick you had was Bradley Beal, and you just traded him away.
I just like this is an F for the Wizards. Like, this is I don't know what else to grade it. It's an F. It's an F. ESPN gave it like a B- because of the stuff they got back, because of the draft picks they got back, and obviously, like, I think the notion of Chris Paul buying out, because we all thought he was gonna get bought. Like, we all thought, okay, so he was gonna buy him out, and he'd sign wherever. And so Chris Paul has literally gone to show us that, like, no, I'll play wherever, right? Well,
like,
I think he will get waived, because they can waive him before June
30th, and they basically got 11 days to do that. And
I think he'll get waived. I don't think he'll get bought out. So, and then they'll stretch provision the last $50 million of his contract.
So, like,
over 3 years.
Like, ESPN actually gave Washington a more favorable grade, because if you're on the Phoenix side, yeah, you got the superstar, yeah, you got the big name, but you have no depth. And I am yet to see a championship team, a team win the championship with little to no depth. I hear what you're saying about, players, they're going to come here, they're going to sign the vet minimum. It don't matter. Like, it really doesn't. If those guys aren't, say it with me, playable. Like, what good? Like who are you going to get on a vet minimum deal that's going to be like, hey, man, like, take this $3 million and we'll.
It's not even $3 million. We're talking the veteran minimum's like $300,000.
Oh yeah. You come on, man. Like, 300. Like, you asking somebody, hey, take this $300K, play in Phoenix, which is not cheap.
But people like living in Phoenix. Like, it's one of those, and they have like one of the best medical staffs in the NBA.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Like, it's the lack of. I'm very curious as to how. I don't even know who the GM. James Jones still the GM. Yeah, bro, you got your work cut out for you. You got to feel what at least what would you say 6 more spots?
Yeah,
The sta-
let me get their contracts real quick. I can tell you
the
guys on the
starting
books.
the starting five plus Cameron Payne.
So
Like,
the only players under contract for them right now, Cameron Payne has a partial, not a fully guaranteed contract. That outside of the guys that I just mentioned, there's nobody else on the team right now. Ish Wainwright, the kid from Ohio State or wherever he went, that he's on
hmm.
the team on a team option, which I imagine they'll pick up.
Because they have no choice but to pick it up. Now, if
Yeah.
like now if I am them, and I
But I
know
mean, Josh Okogie's a free agent. TJ Warren's a free agent. I mean, Jock
TJ
Landale's a free agent.
TJ Warren did absolutely nothing for him anyway.
I
Like
know, but the thing is, like the only like they're not going to be able to sign players outside the veteran minimum. So like if they want to fill out the rest of this roster, they don't really have a choice. They have to basically re-sign their own guys. Like
like
that's the only way they're going to fill the roster with players that are even remotely serviceable. Like
I mean,
Torrey Craig. I mean, you can get Torrey Craig. I mean, this
try to
payroll
get
is
him
going to be
back.
absurd. Payroll will be absurd, but they don't have a
Hey,
choice.
if I'm them, I'm keeping an eye on I'm definitely keeping an eye on two dudes from the Knicks. I'm keeping an eye on Evan Fournier to get bought out, hit the market, and Derrick Rose to get bought out and finally hit the market because I'm pretty sure those two dudes will just say F it. Especially if it's a vet minimum with a guaranteed chance to play.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
those are two dudes who are just too damn good. Say what you want about Derrick Rose, I really don't care. Those are guys that are just too damn good to just be
They're
sitting down and doing nothing to not to just not be playing. Like those are
like
just too good. Like come on now, be smart about
I
it.
agree with you. Let's so yeah, we'll see how this ends up planning out for both these two teams. I'll give a B plus to the Suns. I'll give an F to the Wizards. I don't understand what the Wizards were doing with this trade. It
I'm
doesn't make any
giving them
sense.
I'm giving them C's for both because I don't think I legit think Phoenix didn't think this out. Like you have so every other year you're not gonna have a draft pick.
Yeah, I mean they were going to be in that they were going to be in that scenario anyways because of the Kevin
Not
Durant trade.
really. But like now they're even more in it because now they legit have no draft picks.
I mean, but this is I mean there are ways to acquire more. They could buy a draft pick if they wanted to at some point. I mean. Moving on to the main point of this show before we are erupted by breaking news in the National Basketball Association, let's talk about the Chicago Bulls. Our team, me and TJ's team, Izzy's team, big Chicago Bulls fans. 40-42, ninth place in the Eastern Conference last year. They lost to Miami in the second round of the play-in tournament. Their head coach, obviously Billy Donovan, president of basketball operation, Arturas Karnasov, AK.
Yeah, Karnisovas.
Yeah, AK.
Karnisovas.
Obviously, they have no first-round pick in the upcoming draft. The players that are under contract for next season, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, Patrick Williams, Andre Drummond, Jalen Terry. I don't know why I put his whole name in there, not everybody else's. But Derek Jones Jr. has a team option, I think, for next season. And Simonovic is a partially guaranteed contract. They have $122 million in contract already. The salary cap is expected to be set at $134 million. Upcoming free agents, Vucevic, Kobe White, Javante Green, Ayo Dosunmu, Patrick Beverly, Taylor and Lewis. Those guys are basically irrelevant. The Lonzo Ball situation seems extremely dire. Rumor, hopefully this isn't true, but he may never play again in the National Basketball Association. He has not played in a year and a half.
First off, do you know who said that? Do you know who said that?
I did not hear who said that.
Exactly.
Okay, well, it just doesn't seem like a good situation in general, anyways. But let's talk first about Vucevic.
It's people from that diehard Bulls fans, stupid ass Facebook page or Twitter account with the same name. Like that is first off, that is the worst page to follow if you're a Bulls fan. Like they are like clearly not objective about Zach LaVine or anybody else. Like they are just the worst to follow. Like just if you follow them, please stop. There's no telling who they get their news from. Like they I heard it from insiders. Who? Insiders of insiders of insiders. Like folks that don't even exist. Like they just putting stuff out there to like get clicks and clicks and likes and whatnot. That's all they do. They are terrible.
Well, the Sports Illustrated reported May 29, 2023, Bulls believe Lonzo might never play again due to injury, per report from Sports Illustrated.
Okay, Sports Illustrated, fine.
That's coming from 670 The Score and Dan Bernstein, their source.
also not biased either. Like they are, those are the same dudes that when Vucevic got traded to the Bulls said, "Oh, Zach LaVine is no longer the best player on the team." Like get real.
All
That's
right,
who you're quoting, David.
but he's it's still the SI would be doing their research as well. But I'm not sure what to make of the Lonzo Ball situation. It's just a bad situation
It's
in general. Like
unfortunate.
it's unfortunately. Hopefully, he can get back on the court because when the Bulls had him, they were very good. Like I think they were the number one seed in the Eastern Conference before he got injured.
Yep,
They've been below 500 since then. It's just an unfortunate scenario. Hopefully, he can get right and get back on the court. But this is the reporting. This is what we're going off of right now. Um, let's talk about Vucevic. How motivated should the Bulls be to bring him back?
extremely. 20 and 10 is not out there anywhere. Like I understand that if you're a center or if you're a fan of your favorite team, your big man is not going to be Joel Embiid or Nikola Vucevic. I mean, Jokic. Like those two dudes are where they are for a reason. They got the contracts they got for a reason. You're like if you're a big man, like if you're a fan of your favorite team and you're like, why can't my big man be like that? There's a there's a reason why.
They
Those two
don't make
dudes,
them. They don't make them like
they
that
don't
very
make
often.
guys like that often. Like it's let me go out there and get a Joel Embiid, pluck him off the tree. Like no, that's not how that works. So for you to like, so if your team has a Vooch, a Miles Turner, somebody like that, you want to hold on to them near and dear because like even those guys are like, hey, 20 and 10 and like anywhere from 1 to 3 blocks a game. Yeah, you want that on your team. Like why? Like again, Vooch is averaging like I think he's 18 and 10. And what? How many assists would you give him? Three, four, like three a game?
I can look up his stats right now, real quick. Give me a second. But I think the bigger picture here is that, like, if the Bulls don't bring Nikola Vucevic back, they're not like bringing anyone else in. They're like there's nobody there. So he
But
averaged
who do
last
you
season
replace him with?
18 points, 11 rebounds, and then basically 3 assists a game. Shooting at 50% from the field, 40% from the 3 point line, 35%. Sorry, 35. 84% from the free throw line. He averaged basically a block, one steal. Only had 2 turnovers per game. Like
No,
he's a solid basketball
he's a
player.
solid basketball player.
He gets a lot of fleck because he just becomes the scapegoat for everybody in Chicago who wants to complain that they're like, oh, we shouldn't. Like, yes, the trade looks not great now, but it was an
Because of who?
absolute.
Yeah, I'm sorry, cut you off. Like it looks bad not because of who the Magic got in the deal, but
Yeah, I
ask
mean,
yourself
and the fact that Carter Williams or not Carter Williams,
when the
Wendell Carter
Carter,
Williams, yeah, Junior, yeah, has
yeah,
become
Carter, yeah.
a pretty solid big who can like
But
stretch the floor.
but then again, you gotta ask yourself this. Okay, they had two of our first round picks. What has it gotten the Orlando Magic? They are no step closer to making the playoffs now than when we made the trade.
It's true, but Franz Wagner does seem like a really good basketball player. Yeah, but I think at the time it was still a no-brainer decision to make.
Yeah,
He immediately elevated this team. This team, when they were healthy last season, was the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. Let's not forget about that. The Bulls should bring him back. I think they should try to get him for about what he's making now. I
mhm.
think overpaying him would be a huge mistake. Um, and then I think on the other side of this, I mean, if you're just going to continue to just be this basketball team, like you're just going to continue running this back, I mean, we've kind of seen this Bulls. Like I got to be honest, I kind of want the Bulls to just think about blowing this up. Like trade DeMar DeRozan while his value could not be higher. Consider trading Zach LaVine. I don't know what you're going to get for him, but I imagine you get a pretty decent package, like from a team like. The Dallas Mavericks, who have first round picks that they could trade. They have some young talents that are at least interesting on that team. Because I'm just tired of this Bulls team being kind of mediocre, like in the middle, like not good enough to really tank and get decent draft picks, but also not good enough to win anything. And
Jerry Lonzo.
it's basically been this scenario for 10 years. maybe not 10, 8, 9, something like that.
Might
Like,
as well say 10.
yeah, I mean, it's been this scenario basically since like Derrick Rose got hurt. Basically, it's been this Bulls team is always good enough to make the playoffs, but never quite good enough to get over the hump. Whether that hump be LeBron, whatever team he happens to be on at that point in his career, that Boston Celtics, whatever team, whatever their roster looks like at the time, Milwaukee, like it's just like they're not just haven't been good enough to get over that hump. And I'm tired of just them being mediocre and just good enough to be okay and be like a borderline playoff team, but not really good enough to compete for anything.
Well, I already told folks what's going to happen. Right, like so, this is what's going to happen. All right, they're going to run the same team back because they honestly that's all they can afford to do. And if it doesn't go well, they're going to fire Billy Donovan.
Yeah.
They're going to fire Billy Donovan, and then they're going to hire somebody else. And then when they do that, and the team comes up short, they're like, okay, now we can blow this up. Because how many times have we seen that? How many times have we seen that?
Yeah. Welcome into the show, CEO Israel Vera. Welcome into the show, my friend.
What's going on, fellas?
Think about Jerry Krause does the dumb thing. He ends the Bulls dynasty literally way too early, right? Fires Phil Jackson, brings in Tim Floyd, as Michael Jordan used to call him, right? You go through a full on rebuild. You fire him, then you hire Bill Cartwright. They're terrible. You fire him. You hire Scott Skiles. That goes terrible. You fire him. You sprinkle in a couple playoff appearances here and there under Scott Skiles. You fire him. You hire Vinny Del Negro. You go 42 and 40. You go 41 and 41, literally 2 years in a row. You fire him, and then you hire Tom Thibodeau, who made the playoffs every year he was here. By the way, even with the injuries to Derrick Rose, because him and front office started to see not to see eye to eye. And it all started with them drafting Marcus Teague over Draymond Green in the first round. That was a thing. I'm not lying about that. That was a legit thing. And then you fire him, and then you hire Fred Hoiberg, Jim Boylan, aka Humpty Dumpty, and that went about as expected. And now your first playoff appearance in 5 years is under Billy Donovan, and he's on the hot seat. And then they're gonna fire him, and then they're gonna hire somebody. So the cycle continues. That's where we are with the Bulls.
Welcome to the show, Izzy.
Man, that's a lot, TJ. You literally went through the whole last 20 years of my Chicago Bulls history. Yo.
Where's the lie?
No, you're not wrong. I mean, but I'm just personally, I'm just pretty tired of just this Bulls team being kind of mediocre. I would personally trade away everybody who has value. I wouldn't. I think talking about re-signing Nikola Vucevic, I think it's a solid idea, but I wouldn't. I would move off of everybody on this team, and I would legitimately move rebuild this roster from the top.
I hate the fact. See, this is the thing. The Bulls don't really know how to rebuild. They don't know how to rebuild because when they got Derrick Rose, they barely missed the playoffs the year before. Like they had the least amount of chance to get Derrick Rose. So Jerry doesn't really know how to rebuild. Actually, you know what? Those first couple years when Jay Williams came on. So my thing is this. I'm tired of them being in the middle. You know what I mean? Like in purgatory. Like either just suck, like David said, trade away everybody and just suck and rebuild, or I don't know, go. Try and trade somebody for some formidable superstars. But
but the Bulls also don't have assets where teams are like, you know what?
I want that guy. I want Kobe White. I want Pat Williams. No, they don't have that, bro.
And because of the way this roster is constructed, they also don't have first round picks that they can trade because they don't have a pick. They can't trade a pick, I think, until 2027 because of the DeMar DeRozan trade and because of the Nikola Vucevic trade. They're basically just stuck. Like they either have to hope they hit lightning in a bottle where Lonzo Ball comes back healthy. We're all rooting for that, and DeMar DeRozan continues to play at this elite level, and Zach LaVine continues to be the best player on this team. But there's no guarantee that DeMar DeRozan can continue to play like this as he gets older. There's no guarantee that Zach LaVine can continue to play like this. I mean, he can obviously put up big numbers, but like, are they just going to be big numbers on a basketball team that doesn't win a lot? Like, doesn't have a lot of like
This
real
team
potential.
sucks.
So
David, this team sucks. Say it with me. This team sucks.
this team sucks. And
the one time we were actually supposed to do a full rebuild, Reinsdorf panics. He signs an old Dwayne Wade, an old Rondo, and it's like, no, dude, like that should have been the wake up call to most fans. It's like, bro,
that should have been the rebuild year. Yeah, because I mean, right now we're looking at this last draft and we're like, damn, like we traded for Vucevic. Who knows what we could have had the last previous drafts, but we could have already had a franchise player on this team already, and we've just been trying to.
And that's just hindsight being hindsight. Like you had no idea how Franz Wagner was going to turn out.
Right.
Like you had no idea how that was going to turn out.
So I mean, us like trying to stay relevant is irrelevant because you know we haven't gone anywhere. I mean, we haven't. The one time that we were fully healthy with Lonzo, I mean, it was a pretty good run. We were at the top of the East, but we haven't gone anywhere with this roster. You know what I mean? And I honestly just believe that the way is to rebuild, and I do think that we need to start trading some of these dudes immediately. You know,
like first off, let's hope we get a better package than the Wizards got for Bradley Beal if we trade anybody.
Man, that was wow.
Like first off, it's gonna I legit think, and it's not gonna happen no time soon. We ain't gonna see nothing like that until the Reinsdorfs legit sell the team. Like everybody gotta go. Like they have to legit clean house. Everybody has to go.
Hey, I've been calling for Jerry to sell the team, but you know,
like it is.
I've been saying that for 10 years.
It's like one or two things, because like we saw what happened when they hired somebody who wasn't gonna play along and kiss ass, right? And I'm talking about Tom Thibodeau. They got fired.
Anthony Del Negro.
Like they challenged Garpax. They said no. I need guys that fit my scheme. I need guys that fit how I want to play. And it's like, no, you're gonna play with the guys we give you, and that's not how you win. I would love to be a fly in the room and been like with the Warriors, be like, hey, Bob Myers telling Steve Kerr, like, hey, you're gonna get this player and you're gonna make him work because I said so. Like that's not how it works.
Man, Vinny Del Negro at one point had John Paxson in a chokehold.
Yeah.
I believe it.
No, that's a legit rumor. It's a legit rumor because he couldn't stand the front office.
Because it's like if and that's kind of like my life. Like if you and the front office don't buck at each other, that means like you don't if you don't buck at your front office, that means you don't care. That means you're content with how things are going. And that's kind of my issue with Billy Donovan. Like I need Billy Donovan to show more passion, show more fire. Like there's no way in hell you sat in that green room and said, hey, Dalen Terry is gonna that's what we need. No offense to Dalen Terry. I'm pretty sure he's gonna he's gonna turn out to be a nice player, but he's not what we needed.
You know, I look at it, I look at this Bulls roster, I'm like, you know, I get where AK and those guys were going, you know, trading for Vucevic. You got LaVine. You hit with DeMar DeRozan, and it looked good with Lonzo. I mean, the pace that he pushes. But you know, looking back on it, I mean, I would have preferred those guys to possibly look to go into the draft, look to go younger. Instead of trying to get three guys that don't know.
Again,
I also not sure. Like if we don't trade for Vucevic, DeMar DeRozan's not on this team. Lonzo Ball's not on this team.
And again, that's
Zach LaVine is also not on this team still. If we don't trade for Vucevic, because the problem was that Zach LaVine was a good player on a bad Bulls team. Like they were always like, if we can't prove to him that we're committed to actually winning games, he's going to leave.
He's gonna
and
go.
we're not going to get anything for him. So they trade for Vucevic, and if we don't make that initial Vucevic trade, we don't trade for DeMar DeRozan. We probably don't sign Lonzo Ball. Like this team, we wouldn't be like even having this conversation. This Bulls team would not have any of these talents. Like we don't know what this team would look like if they don't make that trade. If they don't make that trade,
so like we can say hindsight 20. Like I wish we would have got young. We wouldn't have signed these 3 dudes, and we just went young. Like hindsight's 2020. But ask yourself this, right? You're in the 3rd largest media market in the country, in the world, basically. You haven't made the playoffs in 5 years. You've been irrelevant for 5 years, maybe longer. No one's talking about you.
We've been irrelevant since D Rose got traded, but
Like think about that. Like, and that's kind of my issue with sports media. Like when the Lakers are good, bad, Lakers get talked about, right? Good or bad, the Knicks get talked about, right? The Knicks ain't won a championship since 1976. David was 2 years old. I'm joking. David's not that old.
I was already in my 30s at that point
with a beard. But good, bad, and in between, the Lakers get talked about. The Knicks get talked about. You're in the 3rd largest media. Like literally, the NBA is what it is today because 23 for the Chicago Bulls made it global, and you don't get talked about enough. Like that's my issue with sports media. Like, what do we have to like? Literally, the one time we're good, like you said, the one time we're good, David, we're in the first place. We have 2 bad games, back-to-back games against the Nets and the Warriors. Then they decide to talk about the Bulls. Oh, it's levels to this championship thing. It's like, dude, we literally won 10 in a row. They ain't talking about the Bulls. Didn't talk about them. But we get blown out 2 games back-to-back. Oh, it's levels to this. When really, like, the Nets didn't win the championship either, Stephen A. So yeah, championship basketball.
Neither did. Yeah, but I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens with the Chicago Bulls. That's kind of been talking about their offseason, what they're going to have to do here. How much would you consider trading Zach LaVine if the right package becomes available?
If the right package come along, yeah. If the right package comes along, absolutely. Like you can't not take it because what do you like? Because then you really look bad.
Like if Portland is like, let's say Portland calls 3rd pick,
but Dame or the 3rd pick?
No, you don't get Dame. You get Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine.
Third overall.
You get Zach LaVine. You get the 3rd overall pick. You get Nazir Little, and you're gonna get some fluff, whatever they got.
I would obviously. I would ask for. Obviously, you're gonna ask for more draft compensation.
Hey TJ, I'll take that because I'm about to get Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson.
I would make that trade too. I think you also get Nazir Little, who's still a decent young player. Still.
So just sticking with Portland. If I'm Portland, and I call like, hey, what do you want for Zach LaVine? What do you want for Zach LaVine? And I say, all right, obviously I want that 3rd overall pick. Like the conversation, I think starts with the 3rd overall pick and Anthony Simons.
I like that.
I think that's just a conversation starter. Like I need the 3rd overall pick and Anthony Simons.
If they could swing that,
I would do that in a heartbeat. I would do that in a heartbeat.
I'd press the heartbeat button immediately.
If you don't want to give up Anthony Simons,
I can't stop pressing it right now.
if you don't want to give up Anthony Simons, I will literally take that 3rd overall pick, maybe
I'll take the 3rd overall pick and Shaden Sharp.
Yeah, no, I need more. I need more draft.
The money for sure doesn't work in a trade like that. But like we would also have to take back like Yusuf Nurkic or somebody who has money on their books.
If I get like Shaden Sharp and excuse me for my language.
TJ was ripping off some swears earlier. So
I said one. I said one.
Man, I'll do that immediately because Drummond ain't coming. Drummond's not back.
Yes, he is. He opted in.
He opted in. Oh, yeah. So but well, yeah, or Nazir Little with Shaden Sharp, and then if they don't want to get rid of Anthony Simons,
That's
I
still
love
that
that.
money doesn't particularly work, but like
It's like Nurkic has to be
some
included to make the money work. I mean, like
Immediately, he
yeah.
has to be
so
included. That's insane.
he'd be like he's gonna be a buyout, or we could easily flip him for something. But
But it's somehow some way. I think we should trade to get a little younger.
it's like but David,
I would
back in the
make a
draft at
move to
least.
get back in the draft. Like
In
if
the
that
draft.
requires me to move DeMar DeRozan, if I have to move Zach LaVine, I'm gonna make that decision.
but David, to your point, like there, it's not like teams should be like, oh, I'm staying far away from Zach LaVine. Like, no, don't stop acting like Zach LaVine's just like you you can't use that 27 a game that he can give you. Knock it off.
Like what do you think? What do you think about like teams that have multiple draft picks? Like you have Orlando.
I don't think Orlando would make that trade.
You don't think Orlando would make
no.
Well, I maybe, but I don't really think that Zach LaVine fixes their roster. Like I don't
No, he
really
doesn't.
know.
He doesn't.
Like I don't think that
So
makes
like
a whole lot of sense.
What are teams with
no, like
multiple
so like
draft
seriously,
picks?
no seriously,
San
like
Antonio?
seriously, if I'm Miami, I'll make that like I'm gauging interest. Portland, we already just mentioned them. David brought up
Multiple draft
Dallas.
picks.
David brought up Dallas. Like it's markets out there that can use a Zach LaVine. Like, did Miami not prove that they needed somebody like that?
Yep. I mean, coming with a guy who can proven score. I would also consider trading DeMar DeRozan if the right package became available. I just think the Bulls need to make a decision here. We'll see what ends up happening with them in their free agency. But yeah, Chicago Bulls need to make a decision. They need to make some Windy City decisions. Thank you very much for checking us out here at Prime Sports World.
The one thing I will say is the guy that's our president of operations literally built the team that just won the championship. Like, he had a hand in that. So I understand Bulls fans don't want to hear this no more with the whole be patient thing. Like, I've been patient for 30 years. Well, be patient some more. Shut up. What are you going to do?
But on today's episode of the podcast, we talked about the Bradley Beal trade, and then we talked about the Chicago Bulls offseason. Tomorrow, we switch gears back to the NFL as we're going to be talking about the Tennessee Titans and their offseason or their season preview. You don't want to miss that content. David Huffman, Israel Rivera, TJ Hopkins, and gentlemen, what do we do here at the Prime, my friends?
We bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes,
Bring
sir.
the heat.
And Zion, for the love of God, hire an attorney and issue a cease and desist order for all. Like, bruh, please do something. You gotta do something.
We'll be back here tomorrow. You guys all have a good night. Stay safe out there. Peace out, gentlemen.
See ya, bud.